What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitical Response, and it's Sunday, so we got some more debates coming in for you guys today. We got Piers Morgan. You know him, you love him. Steven Crowder actually makes an appearance and demolishes. Of course, Steven Crowder demolishes everybody in debates. He's pretty much fact-based. Now, he is biased as hell, but you know, he comes in with facts. He does a lot of research. I just watched a video showing his production. The scale of his production is absurd. Just absolutely absurd for what he does. It's just nuts to watch some of this stuff, but it's great. Y'all gonna love this debate. It's very, very entertaining. But right quick, before we get into that, if I could get you guys to do me a big favor, is smash that like button for me. I would really, really appreciate it. If you're new around here, I cover corporate press news articles. I love to keep people informed, to give you the facts, and I give you my bias on top of that. I have no problem saying I have a bias to the right. I try to be fact-based with what I bring to you as far as information. Then I'll tell you what I think about that information. So if you're interested in staying up to date and staying informed, smash that subscribe button for me. I sure would appreciate it a whole hell of a lot, because as you can see by my subscriber count, I need some growth, you guys. Come on, help me out. I need y'all to help me, and that's all I've asked. Just click that button for me. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and share this video. If you think it's entertaining, share it with anybody and everybody. Now, let's go ahead and get into the debate right quick.
Is the host of The Bulwark, Tim Miller, who has this to say in response. Tim, welcome to Uncensored.
I was just laughing listening to all that, Piers. Donald Trump's never called anybody garbage. Donald Trump called Kamala Harris's advisors garbage just like the other week. Donald Trump said America is a trash can and the world is sending their garbage, which is migrants here. Donald Trump's called me and other people that oppose him in the media the enemy of the people. He's called people human scum. He said that Haitian migrants were eating cats and dogs. Do we need to keep doing this? Like this? Like we're going to pretend to be offended on behalf of Donald Trump? I mean, and Steven Crowder, by the way, his whole career, this is why he's on Rumble, not on YouTube, because he got kicked off YouTube because all he does is insult gay people, insult trans people. The only garbage I know is Steven Crowder and Donald Trump. So they're garbage. I don't think all of Donald Trump's supporters are garbage. I think that many of them are good people that have been misinformed by Donald Trump and Steven Crowder's lies.
Steven, your response.
Yeah, well, look, one thing, I don't like the way that these panels sometimes some people descend into nothing but ad hominem and interrupt each other. So I promise you, I'm going to respect your time, and you will not hear me speak a single time today, not one interruption, until you hear this bell. I just ask that you give me the floor. So not going to address the ad hominem, but I've never been banned from YouTube. As a matter of fact, this will be up on YouTube. The election live stream of the century will be on YouTube as well. Every single example that was just given was not addressed to the American people at large, and not even the Democrat voting base at large. America is for Americans. Are black people not Americans? Are Hispanic Americans not Americans? The qualifier that I have always made, and Donald Trump has always made, and the reason that so many Americans support him is because there aren't those qualifiers of race that we see in identity politics. Every single example, I could go through all of them, the people around Kamala Harris, the people surrounding her, are scum and garbage. That's not going to be misinterpreted as Kamala's supporters are garbage. The voters of Donald Trump are deplorable. These people are scum. Kamala Harris is dumb, whatever he said. That's very different from the hatred, the reviling of the American voter. Your floor.
Yeah, you know what, Tim Miller, what I would say is...
See, this is what the left and people like Mr. Miller right there have to do constantly. They conflate Donald Trump calling Kamala Harris and her campaign staff garbage, because they kind of are, in my opinion, Kamala Harris at least, with Joe Biden calling all Trump supporters garbage. This is what they do. They conflate those two things. They think, oh, well, Donald Trump's constantly talking about people. Yeah, but he's not blanket talking about the entire American citizenry or the voter base or anything like that. Donald Trump specifies his insults where they are needed in his opinion, and this is something they conflate. They constantly come in with ad hominem talking about Steven Crowder's been banned from YouTube. Well, you know, that's not true, not in the least. Check this out. I'll just pull that's just a quick screenshot. I'll just go to YouTube and find his channel right quick and see what, oh, there's videos from 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 5 days ago. Huh, interesting. Yeah, he does a live stream every single day. I'll say Monday through Friday. But that's getting back to the question at hand is, the left, they're constantly attacking just everybody blanket. Voters, all this people, and it's not the first time Joe Biden has done this. Now, Kamala Harris, she's running the campaign. They know better than to come after the American voters, right? So, yeah, they're not going to do it, but Joe Biden, at this point, has no filter anymore. And now we're supposed to believe what Cenk Uygur was saying in my video yesterday is that, we know Joe Biden's just senile, so now you're going to believe what Joe Biden says? It's like, come on, dude. So he's senile when it's convenient for you, but he's not senile to run the country? Yeah, okay, come on, get off of yourselves on this one, but let's delve deeper into this debate. Check this out.
Tim Miller, what I would say is, people on the left, they're very, very quick to be very offended by Trump's rhetoric. This has been going on for 8 years now, that this guy talks in a disparaging way about people. It's unacceptable, it's awful, blah, 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 blah. But you think nothing as a group of constantly flashing the Nazi word around, fascist, Nazi, and now garbage. Why is it one rule for Trump? Why do you want him to clean up the way he talks, but a completely different set of rules for your own side? Why are you allowed to just go around calling people mass murderers?
I'm not. Like I said, the only people I called garbage were Donald Trump and Steven Crowder because they've acted like garbage by disparaging people their entire careers. Like, that was the whole premise of both of these two guys' careers. Donald Trump's just been a little bit more successful at it. So Joe Biden's statement, I think, was like totally nonsensical marble mouth. And I was maybe one of the most vocal people saying Joe Biden shouldn't run for president again. Joe Biden isn't running for president. Kamala Harris is running for president. And she gave a speech on the Ellipse where she talked about how MAGA voters would have and MAGA politicians would have a seat at the table in her administration. So you guys are trying to make something out of nothing, and you're trying to do this fake outrage where it's like in soccer, Piers, where you guys are flopping. You're flopping on the ground, hoping the refs call a foul on Joe Biden, when Donald Trump's whole career has been insults and lies and disparaging people, and also his actual actions have been hurtful. The sexual assault that he committed on women, the fact that he banned people from coming to this country based on their religion, the separating of family. We could just go on and on about Donald Trump's behavior, the cops that got injured at the Capitol because of the riot that he started. So Donald Trump, it's not just his words, it's his actions that have been harmful. And you guys can get mad about what the soon-to-be former president, Joe Biden, like incomprehensibly said, but he's not running against Joe Biden. And it seems like a desperate ploy to like put on a fancy costume and dress up like an Oompa Loompa.
All right, Stephen,
Speaking of Joe Biden's nonsensical, garbled nonsense that comes out, check this out.
There's one more thing Trump and his Republican friends want to do. They want another giant tax cut for the wealthy. Now, I know some of you guys are tempted to think it's macho guy. I'll tell you what, man. When I was in Scranton, we used to have a little trouble going down the plot once in a while from Greenwich. But I'm serious. These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass. By the way, I'm serious. Think about it.
Yeah, so that's a threat of violence, if you will. And once again, Joe Biden's filter is completely off. But see, once again, the hypocrisy here. It's okay for, the left to call Donald Trump Hitler, but it's not okay for us to be outraged when Joe Biden says all Donald Trump supporters are garbage. Like, it's not really outrage that is the problem here. Like, they're saying, they're just snowflakes and they're outraged over this. No, what we're doing here is very, 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 very eye-opening and enlightening, if you will, because what Joe Biden has done is blanket call everybody garbage, and that goes to show you where the left's mindset is. They can't direct their insults at Donald Trump anymore because it's not working. It's not working at all. They've risen the insults all the way up to he's Hitler, Stalin, and Mussolini combined. How worse can you get than that? How worse can you get than that? And it's not working. And they're like, so what are we going to do? Now we're going to go after the voter base, which is outright insane. See, Donald Trump crafts his insults in a very specific way into very specific people. Joe Biden doesn't. And the left doesn't. These are the same people that get outraged over the smallest little things, and then they want to call us snowflakes for pointing out the fact that Joe Biden calls everybody garbage, right? He's not just calling Trump supporters garbage here. That's just the American voter base in general. That's what he's saying. That's what these people think. The Democrat Party has become elitist as hell, and it's very apparent. And yeah, I think people's eyes are slowly awakening to this. They're slowly opening up and seeing what the Democrat Party has become, or the Democratic Party has become. I know people get so mad when I say the Democrat Party, and I try to do my best, but Democratic Party, it's all the same thing to me. Doesn't really matter. You can call us the Republic Party. I could give a damn less, to be honest with you. It doesn't really matter. But this is what they do. It's all ad hominem. This is all he's got. It's ad hominem against Steven Crowder. And it's just lovely to watch. And I love fact-checking these people. And we got some fact checks coming up. Check this out.
Tim, I mean, you went down, you quizzed him on whether he would attempt another coup as an encore to January 6th. And Bannon gave quite a serious response. Let's take a look at that.
Nancy Pelosi gave an interview to Rolling Stone magazine. She said her number one priority is to make sure that Donald Trump is not only not elected, a re-elected president of the United States, but he never sets foot in the White House. Nancy Pelosi and Jamie Raskin right now are thinking about, and they're very open about it, of not certifying a Trump victory on November 5th.
So, Tim, I know you're going to leave us in a few minutes. Just your response, really, to what Bannon said there.
Well, that comment is based on nothing. I do think that there's kind of a delusion in there's sort of this every accusation is a confession a little bit sometimes with people in MAGA, where it's like they're not going to certify the election, like we didn't certify the election. If Donald Trump wins, the Democrats are going to certify the election last time, just like the Democrats did in 2000 in a much, much, much closer election than 2020 when Al Gore conceded to George W. Bush after his legal challenges had been exercised. Donald Trump didn't do that. And when I asked Steve that you didn't play there, and I've quizzed Steve many times. I interviewed him on the circus several times. We've gone back and forth. And so it wasn't like I was confronting him. They invited me to the press conference. And what I asked him there was, he got out of prison. And I was wondering if sometimes when people get out of prison, they feel like they're reformed. And they look back on their actions and they say, you know what? Maybe I went too far. Maybe in 2020, by advancing these lies about the election, I thought it was all part of the political game, but then things got out of hand. Dozens of police were injured. The vice president had to be scurried off by Secret Service. The vice president's life was in danger. Senators and House members' lives were in danger. I was really the ringleader of pushing that in the media, in the MAGA media world. And given that the results ended up so disastrously for the country and for those individuals who were harmed that serve our country, maybe those 4 months in low security prison, he had a chance to reflect on that and say, you know what, next time I'll do things differently. And I got to say, I was pretty alarmed that the answer to that question was no. He did not. He doesn't see that he'll do any change. And if we are in a similar situation this time, I think both him and Donald Trump will act the same way, and I find that very alarming.
Final question, Tim, before you go. Who do you think is actually going to win this election? Not who do you want to win, but who do you think may win?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's utterly close. I think if you listen to David Plouffe on the Harris campaign or Steve Bannon when we were talking more politically outside of the context of January 6th, they both kind of sound the same way, which is that Kamala Harris has a narrow path through the blue wall states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. I think that she's very narrowly in the lead there, but I would not feel at all comfortable if I was their campaign. I think that gives Donald Trump's campaign 3 outs. They can crack the blue wall, win one of those states. I think he's probably the president. I think she has maybe 1 out in North Carolina. So I think she has maybe 1 out and he has 3. So I guess I would rather be her than him because I do think she has a narrow lead in those 3 states. But I think it's extremely close. And I think if anybody telling you anything else, like really, is gaslighting you.
Now, what's very alarming about what he just said right here, going back to the first part of that clip where Steve Bannon was saying that Nancy Pelosi and Jamie Raskin, as a matter of fact, Joe Biden himself has said, we're not going to certify the election if Trump wins. This is crazy. And he brushes this off as, oh, it's nonsense. He doesn't know what they're talking about. That's just crazy. Well, Jamie Raskin, in a very blatant and public statement, said this.
But the court is not going to save us. And so that means the only thing that really works is people in motion amending the Constitution. But again, it's necessary, but it's not sufficient, because what can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means.
Yeah, you can't do that, buddy. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know where he's coming off talking about Civil War conditions. I mean, seriously here. And hang on just for a second. If you break that statement down of Jamie Raskin, okay, so he's talking about this roving mob of Trump supporters mad. Now, this is under the premise that they're not going to certify the election if Trump wins. Now, question with that statement. Why would there be roving mobs of Trump supporters at the Capitol if Donald Trump wins the election? I wonder about that. That's strange to me. So what is he trying to say here? Talking about Civil War conditions and protection for everybody. That's an insane statement to make, and he brushes this off as utter nonsense. This should be concerning to everybody outside of the Beltway in Washington, D.C. This is very, very concerning. One of the top Democrats in the House saying they're going to tell you that Trump's he's not eligible. No, I'm sorry. We're throwing this out. Sorry. The 14th Amendment comes in. No. You can't do that, buddy. You can't do that. I'm sorry. If he wins the election legitimately, that you can't refuse to certify unless you can show there's evidence of voter fraud. And then it has to go to, the courts to work all that garbage out, right? To work all that out. And if it is tied up in litigation, that needs to be hurried up and done before January 6th. Yeah, this is just getting outright insane. Democrats are getting very desperate with their rhetoric, with their actions, with every single thing that they're doing. I mean, for goodness sakes, look at the rhetoric they're coming with. Hitler and all this other stuff. They're all Nazis. They're trying to compare a standard political rally to a Nazi rally, when we know that there's been many political rallies at Madison Square Gardens. It's just getting outright absurd with all this. And then he mentions the Trump Muslim bans or something like that. I can't believe these people are still talking about this. This has been long debunked a long time ago. And speaking of debunked, let's go ahead with this fact check right here that I just so happened to go pull up, which a cursory Google search can tell you this. Check this out. Trump most recently issued a proclamation restricting certain nationals of Iran, Libya, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, and North Korea from obtaining visas to travel to the U.S. Certain Venezuela government officials and their families were also barred. The first 5 countries are majority Muslim nations, but that's far from banning all Muslims. In fact, in January 2017, the Pew Research Center estimated that Trump's original executive order would affect only about 12% of Muslims in the world. That was when restrictions were also placed on Iraq and Sudanese nationals who have since been excluded. So, they're constantly pushing this garbage narrative, sometimes easily debunked lies about Donald Trump. That's all they've got left. Now they've resorted to just making up stuff about Donald Trump, calling him Hitler, he's Nazis, he's a fascist, and all this other stuff. It's just getting outright ridiculous. And I think the American people are getting sick and tired of hearing the ridiculousness, the comparisons with Hitler, when Donald Trump hasn't killed nearly 6 million people, and not nearly 6 million people of one ethnic group. For goodness sakes, he's not a dictator, right? They said, oh, their fears about there's not going to be an election ever again if Donald Trump gets elected. And they keep talking about Donald Trump's running a fear campaign. Well, no, Donald Trump's not running a fear campaign. Not to, well, maybe a little bit, but not nearly to the extent that Kamala Harris is running a fear campaign. These people are fear-mongering. Their fear-mongering has been turned up to 11, if you will. It's some of the most vile and deceitful tactics in an election I think I've ever seen. And the lawfare that's going on right now is outright absurd. We've covered many of those stories on the channel. And, y'all should go check some of those out, by the way, if you're new around here and haven't kept yourself up to date with those. But, yeah, they're quite absurd. Democrats suing other Democrats to keep them off of the ballot, which is nuts. It's just outright nuts. Pushing these people off through lawfare instead of through the voters, for crying out loud. Dean Phillips, that's one of the most absurd candidates. The situation around a candidate that I think I've ever seen. Dean Phillips is a congressman, and he was a pretty good candidate. I would be actually worried about him if he had a little bit more prominence, if you will. He's not a very prominent Democrat, but if he was, I would be highly worried about him because he would sweep independents. I think he would sweep the entire election, to be honest with you, because he's a moderate Democrat. And that's why they pushed him out, because he's moderate. He's not far left like Kamala Harris. The far left is destroying the country, folks. And that's not fear-mongering. What they're doing is not actual destruction of the country, but it's destruction of traditions in this country. They're trying to get rid of our way of life, and they want to replace it with something of their making that is absurd to me. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to implement communism where they can with price controls. That's Kamala Harris's proposal, which is absurd. They conflate price controls with inflation. That's insane. That's outright insane. That shows an innate misunderstanding of how the economy works. When you get out there and say, oh, it's just corporate greed that's raising the prices and not poor economic policy, $1.8 trillion deficit spending. Yeah, that's what these people are all about. Trying to hide the truth from you and then usher in communism under the radar. That's what they want to do. That's what it looks like. That's what their plans are. Right? Giving people $50,000. Criminal aliens. 50,000, or was it 100 and something thousand? I forget how much the number was, to give to non-citizens so they could buy a house, so they could buy into the American dream, when Americans can't even buy into the American dream. That's absurd. And then they want to focus on all this rhetoric garbage instead of focusing on the issues. They want to talk about abortion, right? Come on now. We've got state to state to state, we've got different abortion laws. You don't like the abortion laws in your state? Move to a different state. Why do you want to try to force states to adhere to something they don't believe in? That's what I don't understand with these people. They want a national... They would love nothing more than to have nationwide abortion up to 9 months, which most Americans don't agree with. But you ask any of these politicians, they'll go on some rant about women's right to choose, and that should be a decision between them and their doctor. Totally ignoring the fact that most people, I think it's like 75-80% of Americans when polled, say that, yeah, that there needs to be some restrictions on abortion. Late-term abortion is horrific. Outright. late-term abortion is horrific. I think any abortion is horrific. I do understand compromise, though. I understand that sometimes in certain situations, yeah, we need abortion. Sometimes, certain situations. Once again, you got these exceptions for the life of the mother, which is rare, rape, which is rare, incest, which is even more rare. But we need to have those exceptions. And I think putting a limit, I'm fine with 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks at the most. If you can't decide in 16 weeks whether you want to keep that baby or not, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you made that decision already. You know, they love to come in, oh, it's woman's health care. No, it's not. It's not health care. And who's to say when the government has a say on protecting life? Because that's what it's about. It's not about telling a woman what she can do with her body. It's about telling people what they can't do with somebody else's body. It's about protecting life. And I think life needs to be protected. At the utmost, it should be really, really important to everybody. Talking about, oh, you don't want the government telling you what to do? That's one of the most absurd arguments I think I've ever heard, because the government dictates all kinds of stuff, right? Speeding, when you need to stop when you're driving down the road, for crying out loud, how fast you can go down the road, what you can and can't do with your children. Yeah, there are laws. The government tells you to do what to do with a lot of things. And the hypocrisy on that, they try to force vaccine mandates on everybody. But, oh, it's bad when the government tells you what to do with your body. It's good for some things, but not for others. Come on, stop the blatant hypocrisy here. It's just getting absurd with these people and what they do, but I think I've rambled on for long enough on this one, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comments section. That's all I got for this one. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. And y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.